and she got all the way through a 4-stage interview process, spoke to all senior levels, so even right at the top, they offered it to her.
Wow.
And then about 2 days later, she said, sorry, it doesn't actually exist.
So it completely fell through?
Completely fell through.
Wow.
It's brutal. It's so disrespectful of people's time and energy. Admin wasn't the tightest. It's no, you actively wasted this person's time.
I wondered how much of their own time they've also wasted.
And the cost of all of that, it's not fair. It sets you up with such a bad example at the company.
Welcome to In The Mixx, People and Talent, the podcast where we dive into stories, challenges and successes shaping the world of HR and talent. Each episode, we sit down with the people behind the company, HR leaders, talent experts and business innovators to uncover what really drives great teams and thriving workplaces.
Firstly, welcome.
Thank you.
We like to start off with a little tradition on the podcast where we type your name into ChatGPT
I feel like this is going to be horrifying.
and see what it spits out.
Okay, hit me.
It's all professional, so don't worry. Alys is a seasoned HR leader, currently serving as the head of people at What 3 Words, where she drives the company's people strategy across hiring, pay, culture and leadership as the organisation scales globally. With a career that began in publishing and evolved through roles in media, fintech and tech startups, she has held senior HR positions at companies like Reach PLC, Bounty UK and Zappa. I said that right.
It's Zappa.
Zappa. Known for her pragmatic and fast-paced approach, Alys champions transparency, experimentation and treating employees like adults. An ethos she aligns with What 3 Words, ready, fire, aim, mindset. She's an advocate for fair pay, clear feedback and trust-based cultures, regularly sharing her insights on these topics through industry podcasts, panels and HR forums. Her leadership style focuses on building empowered, agile teams while navigating the complexities of rapid growth in mission-driven companies.
Not completely accurate.
I was going to say it's not completely accurate.
We're kind of behind, we're like 6 months behind.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not where I work anymore, but
Oh, you left recently?
I don't think, no.
Can I ask, are you on the company website of Terrapinn?
I don't think I am. I don't think any senior management are.
Perhaps
That's
why.
big.
That's probably
So you've left What 3 Words?
I have left to us. I'm a Terrapinn.
there we go then.
So yeah, but the rest of it though, I thought was like really nice and really generous.
I thought I'd nail it.
I was going to stave you and I thought
You did, honest.
it's not a good start actually if I stop him in his clothes like to punch you out of the or something.
Let's go back then. So just give us a little brief how did you get to HR? How did you end up where you are?
So how to get to HR? So I was just working as I was working as a PA after I left university. So I worked in events and I worked in publishing, and I was kind of dithering about what I wanted to do because I thought, I feel like this is just going to be it forever for the next 30 years. And that was a bit terrifying because it just felt like I was doing the same thing. So I thought I'd go back to university and do a master's, and I was going to do a master's in medieval literature.
Wow.
And which is, could be very useful at all turns. And my then boss said to me, she said, look, you're really good with people. Would you like to do one in HR management instead? I think you could be really good doing this. And I thought, actually, yeah, I do want to do that because it genuinely felt like there was so much more scope for progression and development and all this kind of thing. So I did that. I did that for like 3 years. And
Alongside work?
2 years alongside work, which is quite a lot. So I did that, and then I left. That was when I was working at TV, and I left TV and I went and worked for a tech startup. So I offered 2 jobs at the time. I was like, I've got to sort of move on and take all this training and education with me. And I was offered 2 jobs, and one of them was in this massive HR team for the water board, for Affinity Water. And another one was being a standalone HR person in a tech startup.
Quite different.
Quite different. And I was like, let's give the tough one a go, right? Because worst case scenario, you move on, you do something different anyway. And it worked out so well. There was such a great bunch of people. And I think I'd been in a team before, I had all this education. And I think because I was then kind of responsible for my own decisions, I was there as coming expert. It gave me so much more confidence than I think I would have had if I was just part of a massive, massive team. And so I just kind of carried on from there. I went to Bounty, which was based in Mount Garden City, and worked for a marketing company. I went to work for a creative agency, and I've been in tech up until I just changed jobs this year. So yeah, it just kind of progressed from there.
I bet that initial first decision where you went to the tech startup, give you that exposure and I guess being able to own it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you'd have gone to the other company, you might have been just kind of more pigeonholed into one area.
Fall into line, really, don't
Exactly, and you're sort of, there's so much less scope, I think, because it was massive and it was, you know, a big team and all that kind of thing. There's much less scope to do your own thing or to be more creative, or, you know, and I think where you work standalone or if you work in small businesses, you get such a great opportunity to work across so much and you get real exposure as to how businesses run, which is so, A, it's really interesting, but B, is really valuable, and it really helps when, I think as a HR person, when it comes to giving advice, because it's so much more business focused as opposed to being very kind of insular within your HR team. I'm not knocking a big team, it's just, I think it can be so, particularly when you're more junior, I think it can be really brilliant.
I bet your exposure as a PA also helped because you've obviously worked with senior TMs and senior, you know, CEOs. So you kind of, because if you would have just gone straight into that role, you might have been like, the business stuff might be quite overwhelming alongside the HR stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Like I worked with the finance director and CEO and all that kind of thing. I was used to sort of what was generally happening anyway. So yeah, super useful.
I think one of the things that I discovered about you, Alys, when we spoke off air recently, is that you had a huge passion for upholding this people-centric piece within HR and within business, particularly with AI and tech becoming more and more of the beast that it is. Yeah. So how have you managed to keep the people-centric piece and to lead, you know, as a leader, how have you managed to still make people feel a part of things and like we're not completely being taken over by robots?
Do you know what? I think like it's so important, the kind of human in the loop bit of all of that. Because people, like AI is just a tool, right? It's just a tool that needs someone to operate it to start with. So whatever you're going to put in is kind of affects what you're going to get out of it. So that's why the people bit is so important. Like you can't just sort of say, here, write me a marketing strategy. If you've got someone going, actually, I understand my business and this is the kind of stuff that matters to us and this is what matters to our customers. And it becomes so much more tailored, so much more, I've led with my own personal expertise, you're going to get much, much richer results. And I think that's, like, jobs, I think, will change as the nature of AI anyway. They'll change, but I think that can become really sort of human-powered as well. Like, you change with stuff, you know, you can work out what you want to happen as things move on.
Interestingly, we asked a question towards the end of the show around kind of thoughts on what the biggest game changer will be.
Does everyone say AI?
Pretty much 9 in 10 people, but I wish we'd talked about a different subject today. I think you're going to bring some major value, but I'm literally thinking back to the conversation that we had at was it Warburg on the Moor? It was somewhere around there, wasn't it, in Milton Keynes? And I remember you putting the world to rights about the recruitment process and how you'd been through it as a candidate, which is quite a unique topic in itself. So I think we're going to have you back on for round 2 because there are some crazy stories that you were sharing with me as
processes.
Oh yeah, horrendous. Awful stuff.
I'd like to say I was horrified, but actually as a kind of because I know what it's like out there.
I think it's frustrating is the main thing. Self-frustrating.
It's so irritating. And the thing is, I think I was quite lucky because I got the job relatively quickly. And I've had a friend she was made redundant in March and she has just realised she has not got the job that she was offered because they hadn't signed it off. And she got all the way through a 4-stage interview process where she did an ethic presentation, spoke to all senior levels, so even right at the top, and not at any point did anyone say, we haven't actually got that role signed off yet, so I don't really know if I can offer it to you, because they offered it to her. And then about 2 days later, she said, sorry, it doesn't actually exist.
So it completely fell through?
Completely fell through.
Wow.
It's brutal. And to your point of the human element of it, it's massively disrespectful to people. It's so disrespectful of people's time and energy, and it's horrendous. Like, I take such a dim view of companies having really poor recruitment. I mean, I think you can be like, it's not like you are, oh, sorry, my admin wasn't the tightest. It's no, you've actively wasted this person's time.
I wondered how much of their own time they've also wasted, how many senior leaders waffled into those various interview stages.
And the cost of all of that. And I think like it's such a, like, that sort of lazy recruitment is such a massive bugbear because it's not fair. It sets you up with such a bad example at the company. And I don't think there's a lot you can come back from that from either.
Yeah, I think people are very quick to say there's a talent shortage out there, but actually there's a good interview process shortage. That's a bit of a mouthful for me this morning. It's not even the morning, is it? It's the afternoon as well.
I do think it's a real art though, and also sometimes one that's often overlooked. And I think people just think, oh, I've done this for years, and it's worked that way. We get it so much when you get that kind of stubbornness of, not making it, bringing the interview process into 2025 and actually understanding the candidates and the candidate's journey to get to this point. Yeah, it just feels like there's a bit of a disconnect still. Some people I feel like they've either got it nailed, absolutely nailed, or they're just knowing it. There's no in between.
No, I actually think it starts slightly before that. It's the laziness of, and it comes up when it's a replacement, I think, because people go, we'll just have this, we'll just send again. Yeah, I just want to send again. And at no point, and it'll be like, here, have a job spec from 2018, which was the last time we recruited for this job, and it'll be fundamentally different. They won't think about, hang on, what do I need now versus particularly with the speed of technology, as opposed to in 6 months' time or a year's time or anything like that. Are there bits of AI that could do this job anyway? In which case, how's that going to change? How's that going to change with the relationships of this person internally with other functions? Mm-hmm. None of that. It will be, I want the same as the person who's leaving. Here's something ancient. Can you just make it happen? Mm-hmm. And then I'll faff around with the interview. It's not like, this is like, you're never going to get a good result out of this.
Yeah.
Have you come across, because obviously you worked in the tech startup before you moved on, so have you come across times where you've gone into certain organisations where maybe they haven't valued that recruitment process, or how have you counteracted that and tried to get the buy-in from the hiring managers from within the business and kind of get them on board for them to understand how important it is?
I think the best thing you can do is slow it right down from the beginning and just go, look, let's just stop and take some time to actually think about what we want. Mm-hmm. Because you will be responsible for briefing a recruiter on this. It won't be me. I'm like, you can't give me a bit of paper and say, off you go and make this happen. You have to do it. You have to own this role. This person is going to work in your team with the rest, with the rest of the business. What do you want? What's important? And you can talk to a recruiter.
It's really interesting because people don't know what they don't know. No. I think when they're so far ingrained, like recruitment is one tiny percentage of a leader's role or hiring manager, that's a tiny percentage of their role. So in their eyes, they just want to get someone in hands on deck as soon as possible. And there is a lot of, there's a lot of unconscious bias that still goes on. And we're doing a ton of work with our team internally here to better educate, the world of business. It's not easy. It's not an easy gig at all. It's really hard. I think people, and we do it, everyone does it. Everyone, they vibe with someone, so they think, oh yeah, I could really see myself working with this person. Or, that, as Chris said, they're set in their ways of the way that they've always done things and they've got results before. So they're just going to continue with that cycle and it's really hard to break.
Yeah. And I think it's just pushing on some of those things to go, is that genuinely, if you tell me it's genuinely important, that's absolutely fine. But I had it out with someone at work recently and it was, they'll have to have a degree. They have to have a degree. And this person didn't have a degree. And they were about 40 and had got sort of 20 years of professional experience. I was like, why are we grilling them about 20 years ago, why they didn't have one in the greater university back then? What on earth does that matter when they've got this incredible experience? Yeah. They can absolutely do this job. That doesn't matter.
I think it takes someone like you to be a champion in the business, to challenge a status quo and to kind of put that different perspective. I see it as doing recruitment through a completely different lens. Yeah. As the way it's always been done. It's really important to us here, isn't it? And I think it just takes a few, like the barrier to entry is super, super high in most businesses. And how do we get people up on that ladder to gain experience if there's always this ridiculous criteria that's not very thought through, that's slapped onto a JD? It's becoming harder and harder with AI. It's just making this kind of almost Christmas shopping list get longer and longer. And it's just really difficult for people to break into a new career or to start their career or to come back from maternity, or all of these different things that happen in the world of work.
I think the university degree ones are quite a talked about topic, but I do understand if it's an entry level role where they need some form of kind of industry knowledge or some kind of, practical expertise that maybe you can't gain, but when
Totally
it's
makes
like
sense.
a different, if it's like a more senior role or whatever.
It's just that is this genuinely really relevant? If it is, great. Like that's not a problem, and we will search on that basis. If it's not though, why are we including it? Because it will put people off.
It's when you challenge people on it and they don't have the answers.
The answer, I don't really like that way.
Or so why do they need a degree?
Yeah.
Because they do. Okay, yeah, but why?
Yeah.
And then they don't have the answers.
Yeah.
It's my favourite one.
Yeah.
What's the difference between someone having a degree for this role and not having a degree? And they just can't back it up.
Yeah. I think it is just, some of this is just speed, and it's like, this is what I've always done.
Yeah.
It's quickest to do that.
100%.
Great.
This is going to be like podcast Alys Martin 2.0, so I'm going to have Steffi back for this one. So otherwise, Chris is going to kill me if I carry on down this rabbit hole. I'm going to hand it back to you, Chris.
Tough decisions.
Tough decisions.
Obviously in HR, you come up against different levels of, decisions that you have to make, but tough decisions, I feel like if they're dealt with in the right way, they can build trust. You think about any times when you've come across, you laughing, you're like, wait there, how many times?
It happens all the time, but you're totally right. Like, businesses have to make tough decisions, and I think people get that, right? People get, hang on, we haven't got as much money as we used to have. Unfortunately, some people might have to lose their jobs as a result. That is not a decision you ever want to make as a business. But people appreciate the reality of things, I think, if you are honest and transparent and human about it. And I think it can go a really long way to say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. This is what's had to this is what's had to happen. So we will do things with humanity and kindness, but also clarity and fairness. And it's all of those things. Like, you've got to treat people like adults, and people get it if you're honest, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that transparency, if, like going off your example, if the business is in trouble, not hiding it and then just kind of firing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having them open, honest conversations, which I do understand they are difficult and confrontational, and not everyone always likes them. And sometimes people think, quick exit will be the easiest exit. But actually, if you sit down, I'm saying most people, not all people, but most people will understand, right?
Yeah, I think they do. Like, I've worked in HR a long time, so I have worked through a lot of redundancies, particularly with sort of there was, massive sort of crashes to the economy, and I've done it a lot, and I think just that kind of fairness and kindness goes a really long way. It's hard. I think it's hard, and I think the worst thing leaders do in those scenarios is either they kind of like obfuscate it and they just aren't clear and they aren't open about it, or they say how hard it is for them to do. And that's the worst.
It makes it about them.
To be honest, it makes it about them. And I sat there with, this is a really difficult conversation for me to have. Yeah, but it's not about you having this conversation. It's about the person who's hearing it.
Yeah.
And that's always my advice to leaders when they have these difficult conversations. Remember, you're having this conversation with a person who's affected by the news. It's not about, I'm sorry you didn't get a pay rise you wanted, but neither did I this year. Well, I didn't care what your pay rise is. I care about what mine is. It happens all the time. This has happened to you. I'm very sorry, but I'm really clear about what's happened, why it's happened, what we can do, and that's.
I can't remember who it was. It's completely gone out of my head. But recently, I was in the audience of a motivational keynote speaker, and his advice was, which I thought was really relevant to us in recruitment, is when you're delivering bad news to make it three things. Basically, one was get to the point.
Yeah.
Don't beat around the bush. Don't build up. Don't make a small talk.
Yeah.
Get to the point. Make it succinct and as kind of briefly necessary as possible. Don't long it out and be too wordy and too over-explanatory with it. And then the final one, obviously show compassion.
Yeah.
Some people are different. We've been learning a lot here about the gems that we all are.
Oh yeah.
Someone that's personality profiling basically, and someone that's like very analytical and would want to see, would want to kind of see in black and white, or maybe see some detail into why the decision has been made. Then they can ask questions, can't they, and go into that. Or someone that's just very, I don't know, they're just might have the backup and might be a bit too proud to want to go into any detail, or just be very dismissive and leave the room. You just don't know what you're dealing with. So I think to go in with a bit of a one size fits all, to the degree where it's on the button, you show compassion and you're very succinct in the message that you're delivering.
Massively agree with that. I sat in redundancy conversations where someone who is desperately trying to be kind gives a lot of waffle around it, and like, this person just wants to get off the call, like they don't want to sit and listen to me.
Literally.
Like,
those kind of people shouldn't be left to deliver those kind of promos.
I can't break into this. This is horrendous. And it's so like well intentioned, but that's the point. Like, your good intentions don't matter really. It's how someone is receiving difficult news.
Yeah, he said it as if you were part of the military and you were going to someone's home to deliver that kind of news.
Oh yeah, I remember who it was now. I can't remember his name. That's so frustrating, but he used to have to deliver the news when a soldier had died to the family.
That's awful.
So, and they don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
So you just have to be really direct, to the point, but with kind of empathy and compassion.
And I think that goes the same way with people's livelihoods, careers, futures, whether it's us supporting candidates, whether it would be you speaking to an internal member of employee. It's all very relevant, isn't it? We're all human, so.
Yeah. And I think remembering that people are human, stuff matters to people. You can't, if you talk to someone about pay, for you it might be a number on a spreadsheet. For them that is, I didn't go on holiday this year, can I afford my rent at the end of the month? It matters to people, so I think you should show them the respect of that.
Mm-hmm. It translates differently, doesn't it, depending on who is at the opposite end of the spectrum. So one of the questions I had for you is showing vulnerability as a leader.
Yeah.
I know it's something that you're mega passionate about. I think all too often as a leader we put this guard, this kind of defense mechanism, and we don't want to show that fear of being vulnerable and showing our weaker side. Can you think back to a time where you have shown real vulnerability, and because of that you've had a greater connection with the employee or your co-worker or colleague?
Yeah, so it's times when we've done difficult work. When I was at What We Works, I had a team as well. So that was that, we had a group of us, and they were taking people through sort of redundancy conversations for the first time, supporting that for the first time themselves. And so they'd been at the company a while. So I think it was them having conversations with friends as well. And I'd done all this work on it. And it's really hard because we spent a lot of time as a business. They were brilliant like this in making sure that was the right decision. It meant that we'd spent a lot of time thinking about the real difficulties of the jobs. And I said, at one point I said, do you know what, I'm sorry, but this is just right. This is just really tough. This is really tough. Let's go over, come back tomorrow, and it'll be fresh start tomorrow. But I know you're finding it tough. I find it really tough. So please don't worry about finding it hard, because I find this hard. And I know that sounds like I'm contradicting what I said about making it about me, but it wasn't. I think it was just, it is.
It's like a wider business decision though, right?
Yeah, it's all of that was. And I had a similar conversation with our sort of CCO at the time, and she never showed vulnerability. And she was this phenomenal powerhouse of a woman. And I found it deeply intimidating because she was. And I was like, you are effectively my peer, and you are so intimidating because you're so capable. And at one point she said that, my God, this is hard work. We've got such a long sail on, and it's such hard work. It's such hard work. You're all doing such a great job, but I need to tell you, but it's really hard. We're doing brilliantly. And she said she got so many messages from people after her recently to say, thank you for saying that, because now I feel like it's okay for me to feel that.
I think as a leader and also as a parent, we feel like we have to have it all together 24/7. And actually, I've read a book called Let Them, and it's let people mess up.
This is the Mel Robbins one.
Yeah,
I've read it. No, I want to.
And it really just struck a chord with me, like, especially as a parent. Just let them. So they haven't got it all figured out. So they think they're going to do this thing on Saturday and they haven't got a clue and they haven't organised it and they haven't got the lift sorted out and, you know, this and that and that. Like, let them. What is the worst that can happen? They'll figure it out. And I think it's the same when you're a leader, like, you know, showing that vulnerability. Don't try and be everything to everyone all of the time. Because at some point you will break. Yeah. And it's better to be vulnerable than to have a massive breakdown in front of your whole company, isn't it?
Exactly. I reckon if you can let it out a bit in the meeting. I just think it's incredibly humanising.
Yeah.
It's so humanising. And I put such a great store in being really human about things. I think I am certainly not a very polished article whatsoever, not least because there's a mark on the back of my jacket that I discovered on the way in. That's like, thank God we're sitting this way around. But
we'd have to show it on camera before you finish.
But I was just like, I'm just not that person, right? I know I'm good at my job. I know I've got the experience, I've got the experience and the knowledge and all of that. I can do these things. Chances are, if you ask me a question, if I don't know the answer, I'll know how you can figure it out, or I just won't know. Don't know. And I think if you work with people all the time, stuff comes up, you just don't know.
You're literally reminding me of me and Chris.
That's me.
You spent the
More
first
than
2 years in business together, or 2 years when we started employing staff, thinking, oh my God, I feel like people constantly think I know the answer to everything, and then we feel like we have to know the answer to everything. We're just torturing ourselves round and round. We go home absolutely exhausted.
I go home and think, how am I leading this business? People ask me questions all day and I'm like, I don't know. And they just look at me, and especially like the newer people, they say, oh, Chris, da, da, da. And I'm like, it's more to do with like processes and,
where's the 5 things?
Systems, processes. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, but if you need to go on a new business sales meeting, I can help you. Or if you want to win some business, I can help you. If you want to fill some business, I can help you. But don't ask me about systems and processes.
But I think there's power in knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to go, here, take my advice on the sales, because I've got no idea. That's not me. I can give you advice on these things, maybe not that thing. Talk to this person. They'll know far better.
I think the team know now. They don't ask me stuff like that anymore, because they know that I'll just baton to someone else. But we've got the team.
Solid team now.
Yeah, the team's established, and they've been here for long enough, and they know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and Gemma's strengths and weaknesses, and they know who to go to for what. I don't feel.
But that's the bit that experience teaches you. The experience teaches you, I don't know about this. We need to have someone to do this.
I always used to, when you read these books or you read these quotes, and they say, hire people that are better than you in certain areas and stuff like that. And when we were quite small and growing, I used to think, oh, what a load of tosh, but now it's like stuff to do with that. Like, for example, if there's something to do with our CRM system that we use, I'm like, I don't need to know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if I start going down a rabbit hole with this, I'm going to be here for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. All to do with stuff that doesn't really contribute from what my role is.
And this is not the bit where you're adding value. The bit you add, you want to concentrate, so you're able to do that.
Yeah, but it's taken some time to get to that.
But I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that as human beings, our brain cannot fully hold that amount of information, and that's why so many business leaders go through burnout, because they're constantly switching from role to role to role, whether it's leader, whether it's parent, whether it's daughter, son, whatever that looks like, and constantly feeling like they need to have it all together in every area of their life, to the degree where their brain is just like, I literally can't take no more.
Yeah.
I'm fully over capacity.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it said, we're going well off on a tangent here, but it said about, as a business leader, you should aim to do 3 things a day. Just 3 key things, brilliant. And then tick them off. Yeah. And I was like, really? And then today, when I was upstairs, I was organising my list, and I had it's huge. And I thought, well, actually, if I could do that, I'd say that's a pretty solid day. Yeah. Rather than dipping in and out of everything and not completing anything. Yeah. So I do kind of get it. I think it definitely, that kind of ticking things off the list kind of helps, doesn't it?
I think it's hard as well if you're a founder of a business, because it is your business. And you guys must find this. I've worked with founders so many times, and it is it's there. But I think the urge to be I've got to know, because I I've got to be able to sort of understand it and manage it.
It literally affects us in way.
But I also think that, before we founded the business, when I was, a senior consultant or operations manager or whatever I was before within recruitment, I still used to treat it like it was my own business. So I'd have light bulb moments at 11 o'clock before I go to bed, and I'd make calls at the weekend or do emails or do whatever, because I was invested and I loved my job. So now I feel like that's not really changed much. When you hear people say, oh no, I'm working 7 days a week, blah, 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 and I'm like, well, I've done that before I had my business. I used to just
With the
enjoy
difference
my
is
job.
you didn't have 15 dependents at that point.
You
You were on your own kind of solo mission, weren't you? When you've got a team, you kind of you're having to educate.
We were in a
people.
board meeting this one. It's actually our 7-year anniversary as a company on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
We made it past the 5-year medical break.
I started chuckling, and the girls were like, "What are you laughing?" I was like, "It feels like we've been going for 27 years."
And then I said, it looks like we have. And then they all started laughing.
No,
me.
Not
you.
Yeah.
Did I say you?
You said me.
I meant we.
Oh dear. You moved us. You said something earlier. I can't quite remember what it was, but it was about transformation and leadership. I think that leads us on quite nicely around transformations. Obviously, you've been in a few different environments and cultures. I want to steer towards the positive side now. Can you think of times around transformation that has been led and delivered and rolled out that's really impacted your team or the business and the culture?
Oh, what a great question. So when I was at what 3 words? It's a lot of my background is in reward. My personal interest in HR, this is so sad, is about pay and reward, because I think it matters massively. And our pay systems were, I'm not going to say all over the place, but there was, I wouldn't say it was the most scientific or data driven either. And we had a lot of comments, so we did surveys and things like that about sort of unfairness and things like that. We tightened that up so much, and we were really transparent about it. So we had all these sort of published frameworks and guidances and bands for roles, and really sort of in-depth things around this is what pay means. I led sessions on this is what pay means to you. This is how you can sort of this is what reward looks like. This is what your package is. This is how pay works in the market. We had a lot of people who were quite junior, and I think there was a sort of slight lack of commerciality about it. People who sort of say, well, can't I just have an extra $2,000? And you go, well, there's 125 of you, so if I give everyone $2,000, that's £250,000. And if you add the tax on that, that's like 300 grand. So where are you getting that from in terms of sales? And they go, no, but can I just leave? But it's like,
and then did you then kind of circle that back to the data and performance to be able to get?
Yeah. So it was like every bit had we got all this data on pay rates and things like that. We stepped it back round to, this is what we budgeted, this is what we've worked out in terms of performance, this is what performance management looked like. And we sat and went through it, me and the CEO and the COO and the CFO, and we genuinely think people are performing better. And it helped in terms of sort of diversity and inclusion and things like that, just being really open and transparent about pay and making it a conversation that people felt able to have, which I think was really positive.
And I think also then, like you said, you can go back to it when they ask, okay, have you done X, Y, and Z?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It's holding them accountable, isn't it?
It's a topic that we're covering at the moment here.
Brilliant.
Because honestly, we've gone from kind of 3-4 of us to the kind of 15, 16, in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's always been like, do we feel they deserve a pay rise? Yeah. And actually that can only last for so long, because it's you need to have a real clear career pathway and development program for people to say, well, actually, because a lot of our staff, not all of them, but a lot of them have joined as complete rookies or no experience within recruitment. So we can kind of grow, mold, develop them to do recruitment the way we want them to do it. So entry level salaries are quite different depending on how long they've got office experience or commercial experience, etc. So it's really interesting because I guess it kind of cuts through the emotion.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but like, you know, I feel like I deserve a pay rise, or I feel like, you know, I'm doing all these extra hours or whatever. But actually, if it's there in black and white, it kind of...
And I also think the reward piece is so key, because what we thought was reward when we started out in recruitment, like me 20 years ago, Chris a little less, but it was very similar. We were incentivized by similar things. That's not really the case now. Not with everyone. Maybe like upstairs, our team are all I don't know, they're just all into different things. So actually, how can you just roll out a one size fits all? It's not that traditional. Recruiters go out on the lash into London, get a new handbag or Rolex watch. Like that stuff doesn't really wash anymore.
Yeah, you tell me about
so much.
money.
Yeah.
Just like if you know, if you do a good job, you learn that amount of commission. I just thought everyone was wired up like that. I thought, surely everyone just wants to earn loads of money, right? No, that's fun.
No, I promise to go home on time, because you know, like it's and all of these things. And I think as a business, you have to figure out, like again, like who you are. What do we want to offer people? So you can be clear with people. That's it. Like if you want to earn the mega bucks, we might not be for you, but you can do this, and this. We will put a lot of effort into developing you, so your prospects will be so much better.
That's a huge one, development. As Chris said, we've taken on here, it's been a conscious decision to take on rural people. Not only do we give an opportunity back to the wider community, you know, neither of us came from money, neither of us came from like education as such. Yes, we were educated, but not to the degree of university level. And for us, it was about, look, we have made something of our life from nothing. We weren't gifted anything. We didn't get anything handed down from parents. We've grafted for every single element of what we've built. And we want to show other people how to do that as well. So the more we invest into our people from a training and development standpoint, the more they can grow, you know, and potentially fly the nest. Not everyone will be here forever. And I think that you see that as a good thing, because what you've done with them in their early stages in their career is going to form where they go from there. I'll never forget the person that gave me a shot in recruitment, and I kind of needed it back then, because on paper I weren't standing for much. I carried myself well, but I needed someone to give me a little bit of an opportunity. I think that has been the biggest part for us. We could have gone on and had a lifestyle business probably forevermore, maybe until we're like 50 or something, then jetted off.
With all the holidays.
When
you were talking around the amount of people at that salary bracket, and you all wanted a £2 pay rise, it cost X amount, that just makes me think that we've maybe cottoned onto this at the right time, because actually when you've got such a big ship that you're steering, to try and reverse little things like that are massive changes, right?
100%. Like if you can build in, like it doesn't have to be onerous or laborious or just too much, like just a bit structured. And but it's mostly so people are clear about it.
Yeah, clarity is king.
It's so important. It's so important. And you know, no, you can't give everything all the time. But and then you choose what you can give, because this is what matters. This is what we value as a business.
Yeah, I think we're really fair and we've got a good mix, but it's definitely ever evolving, and we just need to not be naive to the fact that we 100% know what our people want all of the time, because that is ever changing. And we've got people going off on maternity leave, coming back, having 2 children, got people buying new houses, like just their lives are all different. There's not one person that sits next to another that are the same in what their wants and desires are. And we've attracted some really good employees from some very big players, which comes with a level of you know, they're bringing that corporate spin to things as well, which we're trying to be open-minded with that, as well as trying to, you know, have the flexibility of a small, medium growing business. So yeah, well, big topic.
I'm going to ask you a question then off the back of that. Just so if there was a smaller, medium-sized business that maybe doesn't have these frameworks or pay grades or levels or whatever you want to call it in place, where would you suggest? So if you would have mentioned this to me, or to be fair, if Jill wouldn't have joined and we would have grown and it was just me, which it was at the start, I wouldn't, you know, this kind of stuff would be way too overwhelming for me, and I'd be just like, get it away from me. Where would you, so like, if you were to strip it back to like,
Okay.
if someone was listening now
Yeah.
and they were about to go through this,
Yeah.
bare basics, where would you start?
Third basis, where would I start?
So, and we're talking, say, for example, they're anything from 10 to 80 staff,
Okay.
something like that.
So I would say 10 to 80 is quite a big gap.
Right, let's do 10 to 15.
10 to 15. Okay, I'd say, look, what roles do you think you need in the next, let's say in the next couple of years, right? So, like how many levels of those roles are there? Is it like you have consultant, senior consultant, something at the top? What does that kind of progression? So you can kind of map out what those look like. I'll start with that, and then you go, okay, well here's what the differences are between the levels, and then here's what we pay for those.
So you'd go from like an organisational chart. So whether that was recruitment or if that was something else, like, looking at customer service team, sales team,
Yes.
finance team, and then you can just start embedding in and looking what you got already.
Look at what you got. I say my main thing is, what do you need? What do you need kind of over that period of time? Because what you might have currently might not be right for that. So I'll start out with, what do you want? What do you think is what's going to be successful? Start at the end, and you go back to the beginning and you go, okay, so now what have we got? Because that might map really nicely, or 80% of things will map nicely, and then you look at the differences and you go, okay, well actually this person is better than what they're currently doing. They start paying promotion into this. They need to move up a bit, and this person maybe not so much. So maybe we need to have a bit of a think about where we're at with this person. But if you've not got many people, like I think just being clear about kind of how these things work. So when do people get promoted? What are the things that mean that they're going to get promoted? Is it X amount of work or X amount of business? Or what it shouldn't be is they've been here X amount of time. Because
we like them.
And we like them, right?
That's a big one.
What are the things that make a difference between the jobs?
And how is that communicated to them?
Yeah.
So that they got clarity on
And
what
how
the future looks
How
like.
do we measure it?
Yeah.
So for the person who is like super ambitious, they go, great, I can do 4 out of 6 of these things on this list. Great, I want to make sure I'm doing the other 2 so I can. But it's just easier. And then for people who are less so, you can say, well, no, this is why you're not getting a promotion, because you're not doing these things. And it's not necessarily, it's not good or a bad thing. It's just, that is just where we're at. This is the job that you do. This is what the next job looks like.
What are your thoughts on, going a bit off topic here, but what are your thoughts on companies that advertise new roles with no salary?
Oh, I hate it. Put the salary on it. That is so
Don't hold back, will you,
I
Alys?
really had no eyebrow. I really hate it. It's just not. It's
Do you know
just
what
not
the
very
most
transparent.
common? Do you know what the most common comeback we get from it is that we don't want our existing
As I say,
staff
it's
to
internal-
get paid, and I'm like,
internal
well,
level, yeah.
why?
That's a you problem. That is
Because
a
basically they're going to
yeah.
pay more now than the existing staff that have been there for years because of it's
And also, why wouldn't you reward an uplift your existing staff to save losing them?
Yeah.
It's better for your retention, isn't it? Like, to realign. Because, I do appreciate people that have been long serving in roles really long serving, and come out the back of COVID still with the same job. I've probably been hit a little bit.
Yeah.
What about from your side of the fence? So have you ever been in organisations when they've given you a reason you think, oh, I can kind of understand that, or not really?
No. No, because I think it's not very. No, it's not. It's just not very transparent. But also, I think it's going to waste your time during the recruitment process.
How many applicants are going to have to go through?
And
So how many applicants could you put off that could be absolutely banging through your organisation, but you've not said what you're willing to pay, and they think they're either pitching too high or pitching too low? It's just a no-brainer, isn't it?
I think it speaks to, you're going to have an attitude about messing people around about pay, which I really object to, because I just think it's just not fair. It's just not fair. And I think there's a woman who I feel like they did, and she's brilliant. She's super inspirational. They don't negotiate on salaries. They're like, this job pays this, and that's it. And she said, we don't negotiate. We think this is what this role is worth. It's mapped to everyone internally. There's no wiggle room. And there's the honesty of that I love. Like, you're not being,
you're either in or you're out. You know, if you're going to apply there, you know what you get, and it is
Want to find a penny pinch at the final hurdle.
Well, I was given a job once, and they told the recruiter, oh, it's the salary is this, and I turned up, and I took it, and I was like, oh, that's a bit of a hit, but I'll take it because I like the company. And I turned up, and actually in their budget they had $7,000 more, and I hadn't even wanted the whole $7,000, and I was like, but you told the people who were recruiting for you, you didn't even give them the full amount. So I'm like, what was the point in this? And actually what you've done is undercut me by about $2,000 in the end. And I was like, it's $2,000. Like, what are you doing? And I was obviously going to see it because it's in the budget. And I was in HR, I had access to all of that. And I was just like,
yeah.
So what we've just done is just cause an unnecessary issue for the sake of $2,000. Like, don't undercut people. If people say, I want $60,000 and you have $60,000 in your budget and you think the role is worth $60,000, don't go in as a 58, because that's just...
I think it's also down to the recruitment partner, isn't it, to consult on, firstly, what is the market demand? Secondly, this is what my candidate is worth. This is what my candidate wants. And thirdly, to push back a point of job briefing. I think this is where it can fall apart a little bit in the recruitment cycle, particularly when a recruitment partner is involved, because there's a lack of job briefing going on, and pushing that, as you would do with all of your internal hiring managers, sit down and question why, to the degree where they're almost could be telling themselves a story, but it's actually not even what they need. We do that with all of our clients, and it's not to like confront them or anything like that. It's not ag, is it? They actually enjoy it, and it's almost like a bit of a discovery session for them. Actually, oh my god, you've just highlighted something to me I didn't even know. And it's just, I think if we can nail that as an industry to support HR, to support hiring managers, I think we could all do a lot better. For sure. I've got a question for you, which you kind of know is coming, so we've already spoken about it before. If you can look forward into the future, what do you think could be the biggest disruptor to HR?
Don't say what we think you're going to say.
Don't say AI.
And I can't say AI.
It can be about HR or recruitment. Does everyone know how passionate and how involved you are in recruitment in most of your roles?
It's kind of AI adjacent, if that's allowed.
Yeah, go on.
It's what I think, just the changing roles. Like, take the AI bit out of it. I think it is the disruption is going to come from all the changes, all the different roles that are going to exist, and I think within that, where people and businesses will excel is where they will upskill people, and where they kind of face that head on, and they take a slightly longer term view, and they think about where their people are going to go and how they can move. And I think it's going to make people have to think a bit more about the talent that they've got and the talent that they want to attract as well. So, for example, we're looking for a role for our marketing team, and because it's related to AI, we probably don't want someone from marketing.
Hold on.
Right?
Be prepared for your inbox to get battered, because if any of our competitors are listening in right now,
That's right.
hopefully by that point
this won't be going out to December, so she'll have it filmed by then.
I love Alys, I don't care anyway.
Just won't answer the phone.
So that's fine. I'm just like back. But it would probably be someone from a completely different background, someone from more like data science or from computer science or from a software engineering background. And I think that's where some of that disruption is going to sit, is where those roles evolve and where companies upskill their people, and where how open-minded people are. I think if you are prepared to be open-minded and thoughtful about the future, I think you've got a lot of opportunity. I think where the not disruption, where the sort of stepping back will happen is where people don't do that so much.
We live by the saying, don't we? Focus on the signal and drown out the noise.
Yeah.
And the signal is that AI is here to stay, right? It's not going anywhere. If you can incorporate that into what you do and almost future-proof your own role, you're going to be sound.
Yeah.
I think there are, like, let's take, for example, recruitment. And I keep taking it back to that, but there is a lot of transactional recruitment firms out there, more now than ever. And those are the ones that won't survive, because we're upskilling all of our consultants to become better relationship builders, better BD, cold calling right through to that whole relationship piece. Whereas back in the day and still currently now, it's very much transactional, fill a job, get a job, match a CV to the job spec, fling the CV over. Did you know there's companies out there that do that, and there's tech out there that does it for such as, a small fee. And I think for us, it's about future-proofing and showing how we add value as an external recruitment partner extension to their business. I think the same goes, I hear a lot of talk around, oh my God, I'm really fearful of HR and the positioning of HR and how's that going to be affected by AI? Will we become not needed anymore? I think wherever there's like human-centric involved, there'll always be a need. You just got to figure out what that looks like and how can I use AI to add value to me in my role.
And I think if you are the sort of person, or you work in this business, that human element is going to become more important, because that's going to be the differentiator from what's spat out by the machine. So I work in the events industry, and I've been to a load of talks, which is actually for the events industry, in-person connection will become so much more important because people just won't get it.
I even think it's valued so much more now, isn't it?
I think post-COVID, there's been a massive, from our events that we've hosted, which has seen... Say again?
By the way.
You're booked on, right, for the next one?
No, I'm not.
Is it actually your birthday? Oh, you could bring a party to us.
I was thinking more bring the cake. What was I saying? I can't remember.
You had an event following COVID.
Yeah, just sound like they've just taken off because people just want that connection, want that face-to-face, whites of the eyes, We had a long period of time everyone was behind the computer on Zoom. I think Zoom's profits must have boomed during the pandemic, but maybe plummeted since. So here's a question then. So thinking about your career, who would you say has had the biggest influence on your career? Could be someone you work with, could be someone before you started or along your journey, but who would say has had the biggest influence on your career?
I think it would 100% be the boss who said, go do the HR thing, go and work in HR. And that was years ago.
Do you still speak to them?
No, that's really long time ago. And everyone just kind of moved on. But I wouldn't have done all this. And my job is genuinely really, really interesting all the time. And I think
give you that nudge that you needed.
Yeah. I don't think. I would have been 26-ish, maybe.
So they weren't longer ago.
No, absolutely not. And but I didn't have an enormous amount of direction. And then I did, and that was
it. Just clicked.
That made a massive difference.
Love that.
Who has given you the best piece of career advice?
So the best piece of career advice
was it?
Best piece of career advice was from another one of my managers. She was the HR director when I worked for the Day Mirror, which is now Reach. And hers was just take any opportunity that comes your way. Take it. Just say yes. Just say yes. Either you like it or you don't. If you don't like it, you don't do it again. But just take it. Be really open to opportunity. And she said, and even if it feels opportunistic, don't worry about it. Just take it and go for it.
Love that.
And you're just making my cogs go round now. Someone told me that at the start of my career.
Yeah.
They say take the opportunity and learn. You don't know how to do it, learn as you go.
Say yes.
Say yes and figure it out. Yeah.
I feel like I've spent my life doing that. I feel like I've thrown myself into any seas.
Still doing it now.
Literally.
Still doing it now.
Flipping, gliding above, and then I'm treading water underneath in every aspect.
Episode 9, still taking it.
Still fluffing up my words. I think I've stumbled over my words about 20 times on this podcast.
Final question then.
Okay.
If you could change one thing in the HR or talent space, if you could change one thing, not putting salaries on a job description.
Salaries on job descriptions.
But if you could change one thing in the HR talent space, what would it be?
I think I would say that kind of laziness towards your talent. So be thoughtful about what you're doing. And I think that applies whether you are having those difficult conversations, whether you are looking at what your sort of future organisation looks like, whether you're going out to market to look for new people, it's stop and be thoughtful. I think what annoys me, what I'm bringing like to just disappear is either that kind of weird speed, running and walk thing, or just laziness around it. So I think I would like people to just be always just take half an hour or an hour to be thoughtful and then go.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think the talent space has evolved so much. You can't just sling out a job description or a job advert now and hope that you're going to get 10 unicorns down in your inbox, right? So that's a really good, I like that, being more thoughtful and I guess more thoughtful, but actually having it like a clear direction in terms of your talent attraction strategy.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it a lot, like you can, you know, every job we work on, we normally touch base with between 20 to 100 people.
Yeah.
And only one person can get that job, right? And I think there's data around if you have a bad experience, this isn't in recruitment, but in service in general, things more hospitality actually. If you have a bad service, you're likely to tell 7 to 10 people. And if you have good service, you're likely to tell 2 to 3.
Right, okay.
So if you think one person gets the job, this is from an internal perspective as well, right? Not just from a recruiter perspective, but you work in for company XYZ and you're the internal talent person, you're still rejecting 50 to 80 people. And only one person can get the job. But how are you rejecting them? What are you saying?
Exactly.
Then are you giving them bits of advice or hints and tips and actually some solid feedback as to, you know, if they come for interview, have you had an honest conversation with them around why they didn't get the job and how they could improve and stuff like that?
And has the hiring manager had an honest conversation with you about why they didn't hire them as well? All of that, like, and where you say, you know, the world just moves on all the time. What happened 10 years? I could have said the exact same thing 10 years ago, but you would have been convinced, but it's just good.
I love that. It's been great. Thank you so much for coming on. I think Joe has already alluded to the fact that we're going to get you on again and make a date.
Or you could chair one of our round tables. That would be pretty special. Especially as you can't make October event. But you have been to the
We'll let you off. Right, if you're still watching, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all of that jazz. Thank you for coming. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. It's been great.
Cute.